In the shadowed valleys of the Carpathian Mountains, where the morning mist clings to jagged cliffs and the Danube winds its ancient path, a forgotten civilization once thrived. The Dacians, a people whose story is whispered through the leaves of sacred forests, etched in the ruins of stone fortresses, and immortalized in the accounts of their conquerors, emerged from history like specters of a lost world. Few outsiders truly understood them. To the Romans, they were fierce warriors, wild and untamed. To later generations, they became a legend, a bridge between the known and the mysterious. Yet beyond the swords, battles, and conquests, there lies a deeper story of a society rich in culture, spirituality, and knowledge, now obscured by the passing centuries. What truths remain hidden beneath the layers of Roman propaganda and time's relentless erosion? Did the Dacians vanish entirely? Or did fragments of their civilization endure, waiting silently to be rediscovered? Tonight, we journey into the heart of Dacia, through mist-shrouded valleys and the echoes of ancient halls, to uncover a people who challenged an empire, and whose mysteries continue to tantalize historians, archaeologists, and dreamers alike. The story of the Dacians begins in a land of forests, rivers, and mountains, an environment that shaped their identity and resilience. Dacia, stretching across modern Romania and Moldova, was a land of fertile plains and rugged highlands, a natural fortress that both protected and isolated its inhabitants. This terrain fostered a people who were as resourceful as they were fierce, forging a society capable of resisting the might of Rome for decades. The Dacians were Indo-European in origin, with linguistic and cultural ties that reached across the ancient world. They were divided into tribes, each with its own chieftain, yet bound together by shared customs, beliefs, and language. At the heart of their social structure stood the king, surrounded by a class of nobles known as the Tarabostes. Below them were the Comati, free commoners, and a working class engaged in agriculture, metalwork, and trade. Their society was hierarchical, yet it allowed for mobility through valor in battle or skill in craft. Agriculture sustained their communities, but Dacian ingenuity went far beyond the fields. Their land was rich in minerals, particularly gold and silver, and they became master miners and metallurgists. Archaeological discoveries reveal exquisite jewelry, weapons, and ceremonial objects, suggesting a culture that valued artistry as much as martial skill. Religion was deeply embedded in daily life. The Dacians revered Zalmoxis, a god of immortality and spiritual transcendence, and their sacred groves and mountain sanctuaries served as sites of ritual and communion with the divine. Priests, or kapnobatai, held considerable influence, guiding both spiritual and political decisions. These practices reveal a civilization attuned to both the earthly and the mystical, a people whose beliefs were inseparable from their identity. Trade connected the Dacians to distant lands, exchanging gold, pottery, and crafted goods for wine, salt, and luxury items from the Mediterranean world. They were not isolated barbarians, as Roman accounts often claimed, but participants in a complex network of commerce and cultural exchange. Their fortresses, often perched atop strategic heights, symbolized both their defensive genius and their political organization. Yet, despite the glimpses of sophistication, much about the Dacians remains enigmatic. Were they the architects of a thriving civilization, or have later myths inflated their achievements? Their history, recorded mostly by the Romans, is colored by conquest, bias, and exaggeration. Even so, the ruins, artifacts, and lingering oral traditions hint at a society that was vibrant, resilient, and remarkably advanced for its time. As we turn our gaze to the rise of Dacian kings, we enter a chapter where ambition, strategy, and courage would define the fate of a people standing against the most formidable empire the world had ever known. What kind of leaders emerged from these misty highlands, and how did they shape the destiny of Dacia? The answer lies in the figure of one king, Decebalus, and the kingdom he sought to protect. In the annals of Dacian history, no name resonates more powerfully than Decebalus, the king who rose from the rugged hills to confront Rome itself. Yet the Dacian kingdom was far older than his reign. It was a patchwork of tribes, fortified settlements, and sacred sites, each with its own local leader, yet collectively forming a kingdom capable of coordinated defense and diplomacy. Decebalus, who ruled from 87 to 106 AD, inherited a land brimming with both potential and peril. The Romans, ever expanding and vigilant, eyed the wealth of Dacia, its gold mines, fertile valleys, and strategic mountain passes. But Decebalus was no ordinary ruler. He was a master of strategy, blending diplomacy with military cunning. He negotiated alliances with neighboring tribes, secured mercenaries when needed, and fortified his kingdom with an intricate network of hilltop citadels. Sarmizegetusa Regia, the Dacian capital, stood as the crown jewel of this network. A city designed not only for governance, but as a formidable defensive bastion. Terraced fortresses, stone walls, and sacred enclosures spoke to a civilization that combined practical engineering with spiritual symbolism. From these heights, Decebalus could survey his kingdom, ready to respond to threats and inspire loyalty among his people. Yet, it was not only the walls and weapons that defined his rule. Decebalus understood the power of negotiation and intrigue. He sought truces with Rome when advantageous, paid tributes when necessary, and capitalized on moments of Roman distraction to strengthen his position. This balance of warfare and diplomacy reveals a ruler of extraordinary intellect and resilience. The Dacian kingdom under Decebalus was a society where courage and loyalty were paramount. Warriors were trained not merely to fight, but to embody the values of their people. Gold-adorned helmets and intricately crafted swords reflected both status and the deep-rooted artistry of Dacian craftsmen. Festivals and religious rituals reinforced communal identity, ensuring that the Dacians were bound together by more than fear or obligation. They were united by a shared heritage and a sense of destiny. But the shadow of Rome loomed ever larger. The empire's appetite for conquest, coupled with its relentless military machine, threatened to engulf Dacia. Decebalus's reign would ultimately be defined by the struggle to maintain independence in the face of overwhelming power. Could a mountain kingdom withstand an empire? Or would Dacia, like so many others, be swallowed by history? As we prepare to explore the violent confrontations that would decide Dacia's fate, one question hangs in the air. How did these fiercely independent people, with their cunning king and fortified cities, measure against the greatest empire the ancient world had ever known? The answer unfolds in the epic saga of the Dacian Wars, a tale of courage, strategy, and the relentless clash of civilizations. The year was 101 AD, and the Carpathian hills trembled with the approaching footsteps of an empire. Rome, driven by ambition, wealth, and the relentless pursuit of dominance, had turned its gaze toward Dacia, a land both coveted for its gold and feared for its indomitable people. At its helm stood Decebalus, a king whose reputation for cunning and valor had spread far beyond the mountains, striking unease even into the hearts of seasoned Roman generals. The Dacian Wars were not merely a series of battles, they were a collision of two worlds. On one side, the Romans wielded the full might of a disciplined, technologically advanced military machine. Legionnaires, clad in armor, armed with gladii and pila, moved with precision, supported by siege engines and engineering expertise honed through centuries of conquest. On the other side, the Dacians fought with intimate knowledge of their terrain, using the mountains and forests as shields and traps, while their warriors, fierce, agile, and fiercely loyal, struck with the ferocity of those defending their homeland. The siege of Sarmizegetusa, the Dacian capital, remains etched in history as a testament to both Roman persistence and Dacian ingenuity. Perched atop a plateau surrounded by forests and rivers, the city was a fortress of terraces, stone walls, and sacred sanctuaries. Here, Decebalus employed a combination of psychological warfare and strategic fortifications, forcing the Romans into grueling campaigns that tested their endurance and resolve. The Dacians dug hidden trenches, set cunning ambushes, and struck at supply lines, prolonging the war far longer than Rome had anticipated. Yet the Romans adapted. Under Emperor Trajan, they brought siege towers, battering rams, and relentless engineering skill to bear against the highlands. Every hill, every fortress was meticulously surveyed and systematically attacked. Rome's military precision collided with Dacian creativity, resulting in battles that were as much about cunning and terrain as they were about strength. Despite their valiant resistance, the Dacians faced the inexorable force of Rome. Decebalus, ever the strategist, sought negotiation when defeat loomed, offering tribute to stave off destruction. But Rome's hunger for Dacian gold and strategic dominance could not be appeased indefinitely. By 106 AD, after years of relentless campaigns, Sarmizegetusa fell. Decebalus, refusing to surrender, chose death over submission, and the Dacian kingdom was absorbed into the Roman Empire. The wars left scars that would endure for centuries. The Roman accounts, notably Trajan's column in Rome, immortalize the victories in dramatic bas-reliefs, yet they also obscure the truth, exaggerating Roman triumph while downplaying the resilience, intelligence, and artistry of the Dacian resistance. The conflict was not a simple story of conqueror and conquered. It was a saga of two civilizations locked in a deadly embrace, where courage, ingenuity, and strategy clashed against overwhelming power. But even in defeat, the Dacian spirit did not vanish. Their techniques, culture, and knowledge persisted, whispering through the centuries in ruins, artifacts, and legends. And so, while the battlefield fell silent, a new chapter began. One where their achievements, artistry, and cultural sophistication demanded recognition beyond the shadow of Roman swords. The Dacians were more than warriors. They were creators, visionaries, and custodians of a culture that balanced spirituality, artistry, and technological ingenuity. Their fortresses, perched on mountain peaks and hillsides, were marvels of engineering. Terraces carved into stone, walls built with immense precision, and watchtowers aligned with the natural contours of the terrain made these fortifications nearly impregnable. Sarmizegetusa Regia was the jewel in this crown, a city that was not only a center of governance but also a spiritual and cultural hub. Gold flowed through Dacia as freely as the rivers, fueling trade, artistry, and craftsmanship. Archaeological finds reveal intricate necklaces, bracelets, and ceremonial helmets, adorned with exquisite designs that spoke of both skill and spiritual symbolism. Weapons were not mere tools of war. They were works of art, crafted with precision and imbued with status and meaning. The famous Dacian Draco, a dragon-shaped standard, was both a symbol of authority and a psychological weapon, flaring in the wind to intimidate foes and inspire troops. Their society was deeply spiritual, blending daily life with reverence for the divine. Sacred groves, mountain sanctuaries, and stone circles served as sites of ritual and reflection, where priests and kings communicated with the divine. Astronomy, nature, and religious practices were interwoven, guiding both societal decisions and military strategy. The Dacians understood that their strength lay not only in weapons, but in unity of spirit and purpose. Trade was another cornerstone of Dacian achievement. Their gold, salt, and crafted goods traveled across the Carpathians to the Mediterranean, exchanged for wine, pottery, and exotic luxuries. These connections reveal a people not isolated in the wilderness, but actively engaging with distant civilizations, blending innovation and tradition in a delicate cultural balance. Even their writing, though largely lost, suggests a literate and organized society. Inscriptions, symbols, and reliefs hint at administrative complexity, religious observance, and communication across tribes. While much remains shrouded in mystery, every artifact whispers of sophistication and knowledge that rivaled contemporary civilizations. Yet as magnificent as their accomplishments were, time and conquest obscured much of their legacy. What survives now are fragments, fortresses clinging to cliffs, gold ornaments buried beneath centuries of earth, and symbols carved into stone, each offering tantalizing glimpses into a civilization that dared to thrive in the shadow of an empire. As we move from the grandeur of their culture to the evidence left behind, a question lingers. How much of Dacian history lies hidden beneath layers of soil, waiting for those who dare to uncover it? The answer lies in the silent testimony of archaeology, where ruins and relics speak louder than written records. Archaeology has become the Dacians' voice across the centuries. Every excavation, every unearthed artifact, offers a fragment of their lost story. Fortresses in the Orashtia Mountains, such as Sarmizegetusa Regia, Capulna, and Kostesht, reveal sophisticated urban planning and defensive genius. Terraces, ramparts, and sanctuaries speak of engineering skill and strategic foresight, carefully adapted to the natural landscape. Artifacts recovered from these sites, ceramics, tools, weapons, and gold ornaments, provide insight into daily life, economic activity, and cultural values. Pottery decorated with intricate patterns suggests not only practical function, but also artistic expression, while tools and weapons indicate a mastery of metallurgy that rivaled contemporary civilizations. Gold mines, evidenced by mining shafts and remnants of extraction equipment, confirm the legendary wealth of Dacia that drew Rome's attention. Stone inscriptions, though sparse, offer tantalizing hints of governance, religious practices, and social organization. They suggest a literate and structured society, where communication and record-keeping were valued, even if much of this knowledge has been lost over time. Roman sources such as Trajan's column provide additional, albeit biased, perspectives. The dramatic reliefs of battle, sacrifice, and conquest immortalize Roman triumph, but also inadvertently preserve glimpses of Dacian attire, weaponry, and fortifications. Archaeologists cross-reference these accounts with tangible evidence, piecing together a narrative that challenges the simplifications of Roman historiography. Yet much remains unresolved. Buried under centuries of soil, vegetation, and history, countless Dacian sites remain undiscovered. Every dig raises new questions. How advanced was Dacian society? How much of their spiritual and scientific knowledge was lost? Were there texts or codices destroyed during the Roman conquest that could have illuminated their worldview? As we sift through the ruins, a portrait of the Dacians emerges. A people skilled in war and peace, art and engineering, faith and philosophy. But like shadows in the forest, their story is fleeting and incomplete, revealing glimpses of brilliance that the ravages of time have partially concealed. The mysteries of Dacia are etched not only in stone and gold, but in the gaps between what is known and what has been lost. And it is within these gaps that the allure of the Dacians endures, a civilization that continues to challenge our understanding of history, inviting exploration, debate, and awe. The fall of Dacia to Rome in 106 AD marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of one of history's enduring enigmas. With the death of King Decebalus and the sacking of Sarmizegetusa, the Romans established the province of Dacia, integrating it into the vast machinery of their empire. Roman roads cut through the mountains, forts dotted the landscape, and colonists settled in the fertile valleys. On the surface, it appeared that Dacia had been fully conquered, yet the reality was far more complex. Many Dacians retreated into the mountains, preserving their customs, language, and beliefs away from the watchful eyes of Rome. Archaeological evidence suggests that rural communities continued to thrive, maintaining religious practices and artisanal skills that had defined the kingdom. The Dacian spirit of independence, cultivated over centuries of tribal cohesion and mountain warfare, proved resilient even under imperial rule. Some scholars suggest that the Romanization of Dacia was uneven, with urban centers adopting Roman law, language, and architecture, while peripheral villages clung to older traditions. This coexistence created a liminal cultural space, a fusion of conquest and continuity. Artifacts, settlements, and coin hoards indicate that wealth and trade continued, even as political sovereignty was lost. Yet the question remains, what became of the deeper knowledge and innovations of the Dacians? Were their texts, astronomical observations, or religious doctrines erased by conquest? The scarcity of written records and the selective lens of Roman historiography leave more questions than answers. Was Dacia's decline a simple result of military defeat, or a more subtle erosion of identity, knowledge, and societal complexity? Even as Roman Dacia thrived economically, the soul of the original Dacian civilization seemed to dissipate, leaving behind ruins, fragmented artifacts, and legends whispered through generations. The mountains remembered, the rivers carried their stories, and yet much was lost, locked in time, hidden beneath layers of soil, forest, and empire. The mystery of Dacia's decline is not only a tale of conquest, but also a haunting meditation on the fragility of civilization itself. History, however, rarely provides simple answers. The story of the Dacians is clouded by competing narratives, speculation, and conjecture. Some historians argue that Roman accounts exaggerated Dacian wealth and military prowess, portraying them as formidable adversaries to glorify Trajan's conquest. After all, victory over a fierce and cunning enemy reflects more credit on the victor than on a subdued foe. Alternative theories suggest that Dacia's social and technological sophistication has been systematically understated. The fortresses of the Orashtia Mountains, the evidence of advanced metallurgy, and the organizational complexity of the kingdom imply a society far more sophisticated than Roman narratives admit. Some scholars even speculate that the Dacians possessed knowledge of astronomy, hydraulics, or metallurgy that rivaled the Mediterranean civilizations. Could certain aspects of Dacian knowledge have been lost deliberately, destroyed in the fires of conquest, or simply forgotten as oral traditions faded? Debates also swirl around the fate of the Dacians after Roman conquest. Did they assimilate completely, merging into Romanized communities, or did a hidden continuity survive in isolated regions? Linguistic studies suggest that the Romanian language preserves traces of Dacian influence, implying cultural survival beyond the apparent fall of the kingdom. The question of myth versus fact deepens further when examining religious and legendary accounts. Roman chroniclers described Zalmoxis and other spiritual practices, often framing them as superstition, yet these same accounts hint at a structured and philosophically rich belief system. Were these embellishments designed to depict the Dacians as primitive, or do they offer glimpses into a sophisticated spiritual worldview now lost to time? Finally, some theories propose that the Dacians' disappearance was less absolute than the historical narrative suggests. While political independence ended, cultural persistence likely remained in hidden valleys, continuing to influence later populations. In this light, Dacia was not a civilization erased, but one transformed. Its essence absorbed, remembered faintly in folklore, language, and art. History then becomes a labyrinth where fact, fiction, and interpretation intertwine. The debates around Dacia remind us that the truth is elusive, shaped by victors, buried by time, and always open to re-examination. The Dacians challenge modern scholars not only to reconstruct events, but to question the narratives that have long dominated our understanding of ancient civilizations. Despite their political defeat, the Dacians left an enduring legacy. Their fortresses, now silent and weathered, stand as monuments to strategic genius and architectural skill. Gold artifacts, weapons, and ceremonial objects inspire modern appreciation of their artistry, proving that even in defeat, culture survives. In Romania, the Dacians are celebrated as national ancestors. Their story of resilience, courage, and ingenuity continues to shape cultural identity and historical consciousness. Museums, monuments, and educational curricula honor their memory, preserving fragments of a civilization that once challenged an empire. Beyond their homeland, the Dacians' influence can be traced in the stories and material culture of neighboring regions. Their military tactics, spiritual practices, and artisanal techniques likely contributed to broader European development, subtly weaving Dacia into the tapestry of ancient civilization. Yet perhaps the most compelling legacy of the Dacians is the mystery they leave behind. Unlike fully documented empires, Dacia demands engagement, imagination, and curiosity. It challenges historians, archaeologists, and enthusiasts to read between the ruins, to search for truths hidden in gold dust, stone walls, and mountain mists. In this sense, the Dacians endure not merely in artifacts or chronicles, but in the questions they continue to raise, compelling us to explore the unknown. The Dacians, a civilization both vivid and veiled, remind us that history is not always clear-cut. They were warriors, artisans, priests, and kings, yet their story has been filtered through the lens of conquerors. In their rise, their resistance, and their eventual absorption into Rome, we glimpse a civilization of courage, ingenuity, and profound mystery. Today, their fortresses cling to cliffs. Their gold glimmers faintly in museum displays, and their legends whisper through the forests and valleys of the Carpathians. Yet much remains hidden. Lost knowledge, untold stories, and unanswered questions that continue to haunt historians and archaeologists alike. The enigma of Dacia endures because it occupies the space between fact and myth, reality and imagination. Were the Dacians a civilization fully realized, or a fragmentary echo amplified by the narratives of those who conquered them? Perhaps the true legacy of Dacia lies not in certainty, but in the enduring pursuit of understanding, a journey into the shadows of history where every discovery deepens the mystery, and every answer only beckons us further.